Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of my merchanting series. So this is the progress episode, and you can see on screen now that I'm starting this episode with 52 mil cash and an in-game time of 10 hours. And some of my previous achievements is I managed to get myself an Easter egg, which was my first rare item. And because I got an Easter egg, I'd also achieved a 50 mil bank. And I managed to make myself around 4 mil profit in one flip, which was on an arcane spirit shield. So those are some of my achievements and my starting time and cash. And just before I start, this has been delayed a little bit because I've been hoping that I would start flipping something new, but I've just stayed on bandos and armadyl like before, and the profit was still great, and you can see how much I made by the end. So I hope you guys enjoy, and it's time to begin. So if you've seen the last episode, you'll know that I was making a lot of profit from buying and selling bandos and armadyl items. That was because the grand exchange limit was put down to just a limit of 1. So whoever decided to do that allowed me and quite a lot of my friends to make quite a lot of money from this. As you can see, I was able to buy things like a bandos chest plate for about 3 mil below mid price, which obviously means I can quite easily sell that closer to mid and make a lot of profit on it. And that is where my profit has been coming from. When you change it from just a single bandos chest plate to bandos chest plates, tassets and an armadyl set, then that is where you can start making quite a lot of money. So I was making about 500k profit on the bandos and the armadyl items, so it doesn't sound like a massive amount, but when you're doing 4 of the items at once, then you can make about 2 mil per each to the limit, which is where my profit really had been coming, because in an ideal situation, if you can do that 6 times a day, you're going to be making just over 10 mil. And I wasn't able to make that much because obviously I couldn't afford to buy 6 of each item at once, and I wasn't online 24/7. So it wasn't as good as that, but I was still making a really nice profit. And you can just see some screenshots of my grand exchange at numerous times, because I didn't want to just put in loads of screenshots of single sells, because I was doing that, but I was having a lot of things buying and selling at once, and I just wanted to show that you don't have to focus on one item like I may have shown in previous videos. You can obviously buy and sell lots of different things at lots of different times, and that is truly how I've been making so much money. And as well as the bandos and armadyl, I also did some spectral spirit shields and barrow sets. So there you can see I managed to buy and sell a spectral shield for just below 1 mil profit, which isn't a bad profit, but it's just a nice little cash boost. And then you can see my Darok sets, which I bought for 39.5, and I managed to sell those after literally 20 minutes or something for 41.5, so about 2 mil profit on the Darok sets. And just throwing in a few spectrals and some barrow sets in every so often was just a nice little cash boost, and probably made me about an extra 10 mil or so along the way. So I've mentioned arcanes a few times, and this is because they've been really volatile because of things like the evolution of combat, and they've got new abilities, and they're basically being buffed up to be a different type of divine spirit shield or something. And you can see that I bought 46 mil, quite a lot above mid price, and I managed to sell it for a nice profit. It is in fact the formal profit that I claimed at the start of the video, and you can see I sold it for 50.5 mil to this person in World 2, and I sold it in World 2 because the limit was 1, and people who had a full limit needed to buy them in trade, and therefore they were paying a little bit more. So that was the reason why I sold it there, and I wish I'd kept it because the next screenshot is a few days later, and you can see that it was as high as 72 mil. So it really did start rising, and I do wish I'd kept it, but I couldn't really have run the risk. It was pretty much my entire bank at that time, and I didn't want to put it all in one item. But I still managed to flip them, and you can see there I bought this on another a bit of a drop. I sold it for 76 mil, which again is just below a formal profit, and I was really getting the arcane market quite right, and I was just only able to afford one at the time, and well, I still am only able to afford one, but I was getting a nice profit on them every so often. I only went in when I knew that they would rise a bit afterwards, so I could increase my profit instead of just flipping it. And it was a bit of a risk, but I did it maybe 4 times, and all of the times it did pay off, and the rewards obviously was greater than the risk. So to see my progress and how much I've made at the end of this episode, you can see I've only got 1.2 mil in my money pouch, and again I haven't gone doing the flower game or staking it. I have spent it on something, like I did the Easter egg at the end of last episode. And just for a bit of fun, if I got an Easter egg at the last episode, what do you think I've got at the end of this episode? Just have a think to yourself right now, and I'll give you 5 seconds before I reveal it. So have a think. What have I bought? It is a red Halloween mask. So I'm pretty pleased with the red Halloween mask, and if you guessed the red Halloween mask, let me know in the comments, and if I can be bothered, I will say well done to maybe the first 3 or 4 people who at least pretend they got it right. But red Halloween mask, pretty nice item. I can afford the red Halloween mask obviously, and therefore the blue and the green, a Santa hat, the disc of returning, and a pumpkin, which are all obviously rare items, so I can afford quite a lot of them, as well as other things like Virtus armor, Torva helms, Pernix cowl, and maybe Pernix chaps. I'm not entirely sure about the chaps, but a lot of expensive items which I can now afford and possibly flip in the future. So hopefully bandos and armor will still make decent profits enough for me to merch, but I will obviously try my best to at least get into some new markets, so the next episode's a bit more interesting than this one. But I'm not going to promise anything, because if the profit's still in bandos and armadyl, I'm not going to sacrifice profit for the sake of making an interesting video, because I am greedy. So you can see red Halloween mask looks pretty nice, but I will sell it because I want to continue merchanting. And just to end, you can see my in-game time, which is 19 hours. So it's gone up quite a lot from last episode. I played 9 hours on this account, and I'm still happy with that, as it puts me at just over 6 more profit an hour, as 19 hours to make 122 mil. So I'm still happy with that, an improvement from last episode, and unfortunately I do guess that it will go down in the future, because I don't think things like bandos and armadyl will carry on working as effectively as it has for much longer. But we'll have to see how it goes, and have to see if I get into other markets. But apart from that, I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode, and if you have, or even if you haven't, you know, you can still check the description, as I'm going to put 1 or 2 things in there, I think. So if you can give that a little read if you really want to, then that would be awesome. But apart from that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode. So cheers, guys.